Starships, your lifeline, powerful weapon, flying mount, and signature identity in No Man's Sky. Whether you are hunting pirates, crossing galaxies, or showing off your fleet, starships are everything. But how much do you really know about them? How do you evaluate the best core stats? What's the most effective supercharged slot layout? And how can you reliably solo find the best exotics, organics and Sentinel Interceptors? In this ultimate guide, we will break down every starship type, explain what class bonuses and damage potential actually mean, and help you choose the best first S-class starship if you haven't found one yet. I will show you how to get the most out of your starships, uncover hidden mechanics, and clear up common misconceptions and myths. From using the Starship Fabricator to create the rarest design in the game, to recruiting Sentinels, living and exotics to your squadron. It's all here, and most importantly, I will introduce you to my personal Starship tier list, ranking every type based on over 1,000 hours of experience. We've got a lot to cover, so grab your favorite snacks, pour yourself some coffee, tea or whatever you like to sip during my deep dive guides, and let's take flight to the stars. Before we start, a quick disclaimer. This topic is extremely broad, and to keep it reasonably short and understandable for all players, regardless of their experience with No Man's Sky, I won't cover every single detail that's already available online. Instead, I will focus on the most crucial tips and share my personal insights based on owning 25 fully upgraded starships of nearly every type I enjoy using. This guide aims to be practical and useful rather than overwhelming you with dry technical data. All stats and numbers shown in this video are valid for normal mode with default settings, which is what most players use. Keep in mind that playing in different modes or adjusting difficulty settings can affect various aspects of the game, including your starship's DPS. Frigates and freighters won't be covered in this video, since I already have a separate guide on those available on my channel. There are 8 main starship types in the game: Shuttle, Fighter, Howler, Explorer, Solar, Exotic, Sentinel Interceptor, and Living or Organic Starship. For this video, I will also treat exclusive expedition starships as a separate category, even though technically they belong to one of the existing types depending on internal seed. For instance, Iron Vulture is technically a Howler, while the Raid is organic. You get the idea. Each starship type has unique design traits, including a different cockpit interior in first-person view. Quick tip: to look around while piloting, hold Alt and scroll with your mouse. Each type also features specific stat bonuses and affect a ship's core performance. Shuttles have balanced stats, but no class bonuses compared to other types. Their appearance is old-school sci-fi, which most players find unappealing. Fighters have damage potential class bonus and high maneuverability, making them excellent in dogfights. However, they also have the lowest hyperdrive range. While that might sound limiting for beginners, it doesn't matter much in the late game. Their freighters take care of long-range travel, and starships are mostly used within systems or short jumps. Explorers feature hyperdrive range bonus and the lowest launch fuel cost, ideal for exploration. They are highly customizable through the Starship Fabricator, which we will cover later in this video. Howlers come with a strong shield absorb bonus and the largest base inventory. They are also the biggest starships visually and may include large wings. Now, to be brutally honest, while the high shield bonus sounds nice, it's arguably the least useful stat. You can restore your shield in seconds using phase beam weapons or just spam sodium with a hotkey, since there is no cooldown for this. Solar starships feature retractable solar sails and are mostly found in Outlaw systems. At S-class, they offer decent damage bonuses similar to exotics, but fall behind in shield and hyperdrive stats. Their unique technology Vesper sail boosts pulse drive speed and slowly recharges launch thrusters, which is incredibly useful, especially in the early stages of the game. Exotics are rare and always spawn as S-class. Despite their small size, they have high class bonuses across the board. They are essentially the jack-of-all-trades starships. I personally group them into 3 designs: Ball, Royal and Squid. Living ships have a glowing animated design and focus on damage and hyperdrive stats. They always spawn as S-Class and are the only starships with organic technology for upgrades and slot expansion. Sentinel Interceptors feature unique tech like the anti-gravity valve and Crimson Core, while they use standard upgrades like other ships that require different materials to refuel. Sentinel cannon has a high fire rate with lower damage per shot but results in solid DPS. They can also hover mid-air, something no other starship can do. All starships in No Man's Sky are defined by the following core attributes: damage potential, shields, hyperdrive range, maneuverability, cargo slots, unique technologies, fuel efficiency. Names are procedurally generated and differ even among starships of the same type. Each starship has 3 size tiers: small, medium and large, affecting its inventory space and price. Shuttles, however, do not have a large variant. Aside from exotics, organics and expedition rewards, which always spawn as S-Class, starships fall into 4 class tiers: C, B, A and S. C-Class has the fewer inventory slots, and if any class bonus is present, it's typically no more than 20%. B-Class offer more inventory space and typically has at least a 20% bonus. A-Class has near max or max slot capacity for their tier, with class bonuses of 35% or more. S-Class do not always have maximum inventory slots, but they always feature class bonuses of 50% or more, excluding exotics. The price of a starship, excluding living, which require Quicksilver and nanites, and free expedition starships depends on its type, class, and the number of unlocked technology and cargo slots. S-Class starships can range from around 5 million to over 40 million units. Now that we've covered the basic differences between starship types and classes, let's take a look at how you can actually acquire these vessels in the game. So, what's the best tips for acquiring starships in No Man's Sky? The good news is all starships in the game are obtainable without spending real money. You can acquire them using only in-game currency, either units or Quicksilver and nanites in the case of living starships, or even completely for free in the case of Sentinel Interceptors or Expedition rewards. This is one of the most generous systems in gaming. Once you own the game, you don't need to pay extra for anything, nor grind endlessly like in many MMOs just to get a fancy mount or cool vehicle. The only real limitation is that expedition exclusive starships are locked to specific expeditions and can only be unlocked when Hello Games reruns those events, which they do from time to time. You can buy regular starships with units from NPCs at space stations, trade outposts, or directly from landed pilots. Each race favors a certain starship's type. Kzzkt systems favor haulers, Korvax favor explorers, Viking favor fighters, and pirate-controlled systems favor solar ships. But no one favors shuttles. Seriously, poor shuttles need some love from the devs. Each star system contains 21 designs, 7 shuttles, 9 specialist types including 3 fighters, 3 haulers and 3 explorers, 4 more of a dominant race's preferred type and 1 potential exotic. In Outlaw systems, solar starships have 85% chance of replacing a shuttle, while in regular systems the chance is just 10%. Higher class starships spawn more often in wealthy economies. However, starship stats are randomized per spawn, so if you find a design you like, it's worth waiting for a good roll. In multiplayer, the same NPC starship can appear as a different class for each player, because properties are rolled individually per instance. So, how can we use this information to hunt for the best starships? Let's begin with how can you actually compare starships of the same class and make an informed decision about whether another starship is better than your currently one. I can recommend only one reliable method, using Analysis Wizard to directly compare the core stats of both starships. While the game does provide a visual comparison using green and red arrows to indicate better or worse stats, based on my testing, this method isn't always accurate. There are also white and yellow bars displayed in the starship stat screen. Presumably, the white bars represent base stats and the yellow bars show bonuses from upgrades or other modifiers. However, in my experience, this system is inconsistent. For example, I've seen cases where one stat had a shorter white bar than another, yet the core values shown by the analysis visor displayed the opposite. Because of this inconsistency, I don't recommend relying on that visual system either. If you do have a credible explanation of how this bar system works, feel free to share it in the comments. After testing many of my own starships using the analysis visor, I found it to consistently display accurate core stats, so it's the only method I trust. Your best bet for hunting these starships is to travel to pirate-controlled systems which had the highest spawn rates for S-Class. To do this effectively, you will need to install both a conflict scanner and an economy scanner on your starship. The conflict scanner will help you locate pirate control systems on the galaxy map, while the economy scanner will guide you to the local trade outpost once you've warped in. Open the galaxy map, set the filter to conflict mode, and look for systems marked in red. Among them, search for those specifically marked as pirate controlled. It might take a while, but you will eventually find one. Once you warp in, use the economy scanner to locate a trade outpost and head there. Why an outpost and not a space station? Because trade outposts provide a much higher volume of starship traffic in a shorter time, increasing your chances of spotting a specific class. Once you land at the outpost, place a save point or beacon directly on the top. Save your game and then reload the restore point. This will trigger a scripted wave for NPC starships. Use your analysis visor to check their class. Here is an important tip. At least on PC, starship stats won't show up in the analysis visor while it's landing. They only appear once it's fully landed or still airborne. It's unclear if this is a bug or intended, but it is something to keep in mind. After reloading, the game typically spawns around 7 starships and 5 of them will land at the trade outpost. However, to ensure all 5 can land, move on starship off the landing pad. If you don't, only 4 NPC starships will land, even if there are open pads available. No idea why, but that's how it works. Once starships start arriving, inspect them with the visor. If an S-Class lands and you like the design, make sure you have enough units to buy it from the NPC pilot. As mentioned earlier, prices for S-Class range from about 5 million to 40 million units or more, depending on type and number of unlocked slots. If no S-Class lands, simply reload and repeat the process. If you don't like any of the designs you see, just try another pirate-controlled system. It's a straightforward approach, right? Now for the fun part. What are your real chances of getting the S-Class starship you want? To answer that, I run my own tests, and there is good news, especially for newer players. It's actually quite fast. I tested the S-Class and A-Class spawn chances in both pirate-controlled and Delphi systems, and the results closely matched the spawn rates reported by the NMS wiki. I visited 5 pirate systems and managed to get an S-Class starship to land at the trade outpost in just 10-15 minutes, sometimes even 2 S-Class landed at once. In every system it took no more than 5 reloads to get an S-Class to appear. In total I saw 9 different S-Class starships across 5 pirate systems. In comparison, I also tested 5 Delphi systems and saw only 4 S-Class starships land in total, with plenty of A-Class instead, further confirming the spawn rate data. So getting a regular S-Class starship is both reliable and easy if you know what you are doing. Exotics come in 2 main types: ball-shaped exotics and much rarer squid-shaped variants. They can spawn in any inhabited system with a base chance of just 1%, regardless of the system's wealth or conflict level. But how does that 1% chance actually work? Each inhabited system has a pool of 21 different starship designs, and only one of those can be an exotic. If a system doesn't have one assigned, you can wait forever and it still won't show up. But if a system does have an exotic in the pool, then every time a starship spawns, there is a small chance it will be that exotic. Think of it like one slot in a 21-piece roulette wheel. Squid exotics are even more restricted. They only appear in certain systems with a specific squid design assigned, making them the rarest starships in the game. Now, how do you hunt one? Same method as with regular S-class starships. Go to a trade outpost for faster cycling. While technically you can do this in any system, combining exotic hunting with pirate-controlled or wealthy systems increases your odds of spotting an S-class as a bonus. However, unlike S-class starships, where you might get one after 5 or so reloads, exotic spawn odds are closer to 1 in 300. With each reload cycle taking about 2 minutes and spawning 7 starships in the sky, you are looking at around 43 reloads, or about 1.5 hours on average, to get one to show up. That's just an estimate. It might happen after 10 reloads or 60, there is no guarantee. For squids, the math is the same, but you also have to first be in a system that can even spawn one. Community data suggests only about 1 in 20 systems might have a squid assigned, though this is approximate and not confirmed by the devs, but honestly, it's doable. I managed to get several exotics in just a few evenings of targeted hunting, and sometimes they just land at the space station while you're doing something else. That's how I got my first squid exotic, pure luck. During testing for this video, I actually spotted an exotic flying around in a wealthy system, but even after many reloads it never landed. If that happens to you, don't give up. Just visit the local space station to add that system to your teleport list, write down its name and check back occasionally. Sooner or later that exotic will land, and when it does, you can grab it. And once you know an exotic spawns in a specific system, it will always spawn there again, even if you already own it. That's perfect for helping friends get one too. On a personal note, I was lucky to get a second squid while recording this video, right as I filmed a super rare bone immortal worm added to the game in the Relics update. Talk about hitting 2 rare birds with 1 stone. But this is just YouTubers' luck, right? There is also an alternative method, though I couldn't confirm if it still works. In older versions of the game, some players got exotics by interfering in freighter battles. If an exotic spawned as one of the allied defenders, you could defeat all but one pirate, lure the defenders near a space station, and then use a trick to force them to land, essentially capturing the exotic. But in 2025, if you own a pirate dreadnought like I do, regular freighter battles are often replaced with dreadnought fights, so I can't say for sure if that alternative method still works. Let me know in the comments if you've tested it recently. These unique vessels can be acquired using Quicksilver and nanites, but they are definitely not cheap, costing 3200 Quicksilver and 10,000 nanites. That might sound steep for newer players. And honestly, the price doesn't mean they are super powerful or special, but more on that later. To get a living starship, you first need a void egg. You can buy it at the Space Anomaly for 3200 Quicksilver and then complete a quest line given by a mysterious organic entity. While carrying the void egg in your exosuit inventory, you need to hyperdrive around. This quest is a bit slow-paced. It actually takes about 6 real days to finish, since each of the roughly 5 missions has a cooldown timer of around 20+ hours. Some players bypass the wait by taking their console or PC offline, changing the system clock ahead by about 26 hours, then restarting the game. It's up to you if you want to use this trick or just play it straight. The good news, you only need to complete this quest once you get your first living starship. After that, any new void egg you acquire will lead you directly to a living starship crash site, where you can spend 10,000 nanites to claim the organic or reject it and keep the egg to try again for a different design. Here is a crucial tip for your first living starship. Save your game before completing the final objective. Then you reach the crash site, land or stay in the area nearby, but don't exit your starship. Use photo mode to check the organics design. If you don't like it, reload your save and try again until you find one you prefer. Be careful. Exiting your starship at the crash site will override save and prevent this reload trick. Sentinel Interceptors are the primary starships dispatched against players when they are wanted by authorities. Acting like space police, they attack during flight, and their numbers increase with the player's wanted level. They can appear in space or in the atmosphere if you try to escape Sentinel units on land. The cool part is you can find crashed Sentinel Interceptors on dissonant planets, repair and make them your own. Each Sentinel Interceptor has a unique look thanks to procedural generation. This is where the game really shines, creating a huge variety of designs so every player can find something they like. Even after over 1,000 hours in No Man's Sky, I still find or see unique Sentinel designs in the space anomaly. It's a fantastic addition from the devs. Best of all, even beginners can get a Sentinel Interceptor quickly, right after gaining access to the space anomaly. I won't cover the full process here to keep things concise, but it's explained step by step in my ultimate progression guide for 2025. Check it out if you want all the details. Crashed starships can be found at planetary points of interest and spawn randomly on planets. They can be different types and classes, including exotics. You can choose to claim the crashed vessel for free. There are several ways to locate crashed starships. Randomly spotting them as white dots on your starship's radar while flying close to the planet's surface. Using transmission towers and solving their puzzles to reveal distress signals. Scanning with exocrafts like the Nautilian submarine, which detects drowned starships, or the Minotaur, which scans for distress signals. Trading navigation data for a planetary chart with emergency cartographic data at a space station's cartographer, which marks a random distress signal on the closest planet, which may not be a crashed starship. Among these, the Nautilian scanner is the most reliable method, but you first need to get the submarine and install the scanner before you can start searching. Even so, finding a good crashed starship this way takes time and luck. I was super lucky to find a crashed exotic early in my second save, which I created for beginners guides. But this is a rare event and not a reliable method for farming exotics, S-class starships or hunting specific designs for parts. If you are new to the game and wondering which starship to aim for first, my top recommendation is an S-class solar starship. The best place to find one is in pirate control systems using the trade outpost hunting method I explained earlier. It comes with a Vesper sail tech, which is a total game changer early on. When you don't have resources for all the big upgrades yet, this tech makes your starship feel much more responsive. It improves pulse drive fuel efficiency, boosts speed and automatically recharges launch systems. This makes flying smoother, easier and a lot more fun. Plus, solar starships have a unique sail deployment animation that just look awesome. On top of that, their damage output and cargo capacity are great for beginners. If you are short on units, an alternative is to grab a Sentinel Interceptor first. Even a basic C-class Sentinel Interceptor can be scrapped for over 20 million units, which should quickly give you the funds to get your solar starship. Remember, this game gets way more fun and easy once you know what you are doing. Starting with the right starship makes a huge difference. One of the most important factors when acquiring starships is the supercharged slot layout. In No Man's Sky, this layout is determined by the starship's seat, a unique identifier that influences its features. What does this mean in practice? For example, the starter ship has the same supercharged slot layout for every player because it's based on a fixed seat. This also applies as far as community feedback goes to Expedition Reward exclusive starships. For instance, the Starboard Runner, which you get after completing Expedition 12 Omega, is known to have a 2+1+1 supercharged slot layout, meaning 2 slots together and 2 separate. Because these slots are tied to the seat, any starship you get from the same source of coordinates will always have the same supercharged slot layout for everyone. Here is why that matters when you are hunting for the perfect starship. Say you find a crashed Sentinel Interceptor with a design you love, but its supercharged slots are poorly arranged. If you set up a base nearby and keep claiming the interceptor as it responds, the slot layout won't change. This is because the seat and therefore its supercharged layout stays the same at that location regardless of the class, C, B, A or S. To find a better supercharged slot layout, you need to look for a different crashed Sentinel Interceptor on that planet. Each unique crash site has its own seat and slot arrangement, so exploring multiple sites is the key need to find the best. This mechanic is totally hidden in the game and there is no in-game explanation, exactly why I make these detailed guides, so you don't have to waste time figuring it out on your own. Next up, let's dive into Starship upgrade and customization principles. Starships in No Man's Sky can be upgraded in 4 main ways: upgrading the Starship's class, expanding tech and cargo slots, installing tech upgrades, installing decorative figurines and trails. You can upgrade a Starship's class from C to S using nanites at a Starship's outfitting terminal, found on any space station, including outlaw stations. With the recent beacon update, these terminals also appear at planetary settlements that have landing pads built. So if you have a base with landing pads, you can upgrade or salvage starships right there. This means you don't have to hunt for rare S-Class if you don't want to. You can simply pick any starship you like and upgrade it with nanites. B-Class costs 10,000 nanites, A-Class costs 25,000 nanites, S-Class costs 50,000 nanites. While that might seem like a lot for new players, here's the good news. With just a 5-minute guide on my channel, you can learn how to earn over 75,000 nanites in just 15 minutes by setting up a one-time hour-long charting route through 1520 pirate-controlled systems. Upgrading your Starship's class adds supercharged slots as well. C-Class Starship get 1 supercharged slot, B-Class 2, A-Class 3, S-Class 4. Sometimes these supercharged slots are hidden behind sealed tech slots, which you will need to unlock first. Supercharged slots always appear in the top 4 tech rows of your Starship, so if you want to check the slot layout after upgrading, you don't need to unlock all tech slots, just the top 4. One important thing to know is that all items in the game, including starships, have randomly generated core stats within a range based on their class. Every time you upgrade a starship's class, the game rerolls those core stats for that new class. This means an A-class starship could sometimes have better core stats than an S-class with a low roll. So before judging a starship's final performance, make sure to fully upgrade it to S-class and then evaluate the stats. You can expand your Starship's tech and cargo slots using either units or Starship storage augmentation, which can be earned in several different ways. The tech slots can be upgraded up to a maximum of 60, while the number of cargo slots depends on the Starship type, as we discussed earlier. Starship full slot upgrades have become quite expensive after recent balance changes. This is where many players fall for a common myth in No Man's Sky, one often repeated by veteran players who once played extensively, but now only dip in occasionally without keeping up with the vast economy changes of 2025. The myth that there is nowhere to spend billions of units in the game. While this may have been true in the past, it's certainly not anymore. Fully unlocking all slots on a single starship can now cost over 10 billion units. And now that each player can own up to 30 starships, 12 in active rotation and 18 stored in your freighter Starship storage, you can build a massive fleet of fully upgraded vessels. Just remember, cargo stored in starships moved to storage won't be preserved, so always clear it out first. Beyond that, switching starships back and forth from storage is instant and limitless, a fantastic quality of life feature added in the Worlds Part 2 update. But fully upgrading an entire fleet will cost you a fortune. So why does this outdated myth persist? Because many of these economy changes were implemented quietly, often without mention in patch notes. On top of that, long-time players tend to use large stockpiles of starship storage augmentations instead of units to upgrade their new starships. The cost of unlocking slots scales with how many are already unlocked, with the maximum price reaching up to 75 million units per slot. So, how can you make enough units to fully upgrade your starships? There are many money-making methods, but the single best and most efficient one requires some setup time but can yield billions of units daily. I'm talking about crafting and selling stasis devices. The beauty of stasis devices is that despite the game's unit cap of roughly 4.3 billion units, you can bypass this by crafting and stockpiling as many devices as you want. This gives you instant access to tens of billions of units whenever you need to upgrade a starship in one go. If you want to build your own powerful stasis device production empire, no matter your stage in the game, I have an ultimate stasis device farm guide on my channel that walks you through the entire process. Thanks to this method, I have fully upgraded 25 starships in my fleet, with enough spare devices to upgrade many more when I find new cool designs. No our legit money-making method is as fast or effective. Upgrading starships is costly, but here is a pro tip to save units and nanites. Before upgrading, create a restore point. Fully upgrade the starship to S-class and unlock the first 4 rows of tech slots to check the supercharged slot layout. If you don't like it, reload the restore point to get your units and nanites back. It's a simple but powerful money-saving strategy. For new players, the main focus should be on engine upgrades, a teleport receiver, economy and conflict scanners, all hyperdrive types to access every system, launch thrusters and aquajets for water landing. Weaponry is up to your preference. You can obtain starship upgrades at regular space stations from the Starship Research NPC or at pirate stations by purchasing X-class upgrades from the salvage dealer or by opening suspicious packets, tech and arms from the contraband agent, which contain random X-class upgrades. Although the developers fixed the refresh timers for suspicious packets, they haven't fixed the refresh rates for S-class upgrades. You can use this to your advantage to quickly buy S-class upgrades for your starship without needing to visit multiple space stations. The trick is to buy the desired upgrade, create a restore point by entering and exiting your starship, then reload the restore point to refresh the shop inventory. My advice is to avoid wasting resources on lower tier upgrades. Always aim for S-class upgrades from the start and only install lower class upgrades if you get them for free. At maximum guild rank, you get a 50% discount on all tech upgrades, including the Starship Reactor, which you need for assembling a custom starship. Here is a pro tip. With this discount, you can even make a small but guaranteed nanite profit by buying tech modules from NPCs and immediately selling them back. The economy balance in No Man's Sky always keeps things interesting. X-class upgrades from pirate stations generally provide the best bonuses for your starship, but buying them is a bit like gambling, similar to the gambler NPC Kzzkt from Diablo 2. You never know exactly what stats you will get, because X-class upgrades can have stat rolls ranging anywhere from C-class to above S-class quality. For this reason, I recommend treating X-class upgrades as a late-game gamble. Then you have enough resources to take risks. Experienced players who are comfortable making units fast may skip straight to X-class upgrades, just like I did on my second save to record footage for beginners guide. Upgrades of the same type, such as launch thrusters, pulse engines, shields and weaponry, should be placed next to each other to activate adjacency bonuses. You can experiment with their positioning based on the starship's stat bars to find the most effective layout. In No Man's Sky, technologies and upgrades of the same type reinforce each other when placed adjacently, and this bonus increases further if they are placed in supercharged slots, especially if those supercharged slots are also adjacent. A colored border will highlight any adjacency bonus. If adjacent modules don't share the same border color, they aren't boosting each other and can be moved elsewhere. This mechanic may be unclear to newer players, so take some time to rearrange upgrades and observe the changes in your starship stats to find the best layout for maximum performance. For a deeper dive into expert starship upgrades, check out my ultimate late game guide for 2025. It covers everything you need to master starship upgrading. Now let's dive into one of the most misunderstood topics in the game: Starship damage potential. It's more complex than it looks once you go deep. So how does it actually work and when does it matter? The damage your starship deals depends mainly on 5 factors. The starship's core damage potential stat, the type of weapon installed, since DPS varies by weapon, the quality of your weapon upgrades, whether the target has shields or not, the combat difficulty settings you are playing on. Here is how it works practically. You can check your starship's core damage potential and our core stats using the Analysis Wizard. This shows the base damage potential without any installed upgrades or weapons. Every starship comes with at least one default weapon, which automatically adds some damage potential, shows as a white bar in stats. You can't remove all weapons, so there is always at least one installed. The higher the core damage potential of your starship before adding tech, the more damage your weapons will deal. That's why fighters with their damage bonus have much higher core damage than explorers, which have the lowest damage potential and deal less damage regardless of weapons installed. Here's the crucial part. Boosting damage potential by installing additional weapons does not increase your actual damage output. Even if you boost damage potential to 1000, it doesn't make your weapons stronger. The real damage comes from the weapons themselves, shown when you hover over each installed weapon. Increasing damage potential beyond the core base doesn't add damage. So don't waste time installing all weapons just to boost a stat that doesn't improve actual damage. The only way to truly maximize your starship's damage is to get one with the highest possible core damage potential for its class and install the best upgrades for your chosen weapon type, ideally placed in adjacent supercharged slots. Also, if you want higher DPS, the easiest trick is to lower your combat difficulty settings. Combat difficulty directly affects your DPS. The default normal is 100% baseline. Lower it to weak and your DPS jumps to 150%. Increase difficulty to challenging and your DPS drops by 34%. So next time you see a video showing a starship with 200,000 plus DPS, ask yourself, what difficulty are they playing on? Lastly, the most powerful weapon combo is the Infra Knife Accelerator as primary paired with the Phase Beam as secondary. Infra Knife delivers devastating burst damage, while Phase Beam steals shields from enemies to recharge your own, letting you skip using sodium to restore shields. This combo is smooth, efficient and self-sustaining. One of the coolest hidden secrets in Starship upgrades is the bonus effects granted by decorative figurines and engine trails, most of which you can buy with Quicksilver at the Space Anomaly. Beyond just looking cool, some figurines actually grant adjacency bonuses when placed next to each other, a mechanic the game never explains, so here is what you need to know to max benefit. Polo, Artemis and Tentacle figurines each give a plus 5% maneuverability boost when placed adjacently. If you place Polo in the middle, it provides the largest maneuverability bonus. Our figurines grant individual bonuses without needing adjacency. Apollo plus 8 Starship gun damage, Atlas plus 50 light years hyperdrive range, Nada minus 10% launch fuel cost, Null plus 0.5% Starship shield strength. All installed Starship trails add a plus 1% maneuverability boost each. However, only 5 figurines and trails count towards maneuverability at once. Extra ones won't stack further. Certain trails have priority and will override ours if installed simultaneously. For example, a golden trail will be overridden by red or green trails if both are present. So choose and combine your trails wisely depending on your preferred colors. For a deeper dive into this and all the advanced Starship customization tips, check out my ultimate late game guide. And now to the most misunderstood part of Starship customization and balancing – supercharged slots. Many of you have probably seen videos claiming that starships with 4 supercharged slots located adjacently are the best and most powerful in the game. This might sound like a perfect choice, right? Well, it's wrong. In fact, starships having this supercharged slot position could be even the worst in the game. Why? Because of diminishing returns of upgrades which apply to pretty much everything in this game. The more you boost a certain technology, the less you will get in return after reaching a certain upgrade threshold. In my ultimate late game guide, I demonstrated what happens if you double maneuverability of a starship from 2000 to over 4000. This comes at the cost of cutting the starship's primary weapons damage by 2/3. Interestingly, despite more than doubling maneuverability, my starship's real speed increased by only about 20% in the atmosphere and 4% in space, proving that the effectiveness of extra maneuverability diminishes significantly beyond a certain threshold. The same is applicable to the damage increase of a starship beyond reasonable margins. Why would you need to have 200,000 damage on your primary gun if with just 70,000 to 90,000 you destroy any enemy in this game in seconds on normal mode? Also ask yourself how much time you actually spend in the game fighting versus exploring or using your starship as a transportation tool to reach a certain point in the game where you don't use weaponry at all and rely solely on its speed and responsiveness provided by the maneuverability stat. Of course, the answer will be that space fights take only a small part of his time. This is why I consider maneuverability the most important stat of the starship. And by the way, it also affects DPS of your weaponry, helping you to reach your target faster or outmaneuver it. The best example of this is fights versus pirate dreadnoughts, where a well-balanced starship with high maneuverability will allow you to take the dreadnought down faster. If you are still concerned about PvP aspects, having space fights versus our players, unfortunately PvP is limited and super unbalanced in this game, so it's more like a theoretical possibility rather than a real experience. Besides, any player can turn PvP off at any moment, making this aspect of the game pointless. And even if it was a thing, what's the point of having billion damage if you can't even hit a super fast enemy starship outperforming you in maneuverability? This is exactly why I don't recommend hyper-focusing on boosting a single stat. A well-balanced, versatile starship will always be a better choice. Keeping maneuverability between 1500 and 2000 and infra-knife damage around 70,000 to 90,000 on normal difficulty will yield the best overall performance. By then there are so many videos on YouTube advertising for adjacent supercharged slots starships as the best in the game. Hard to say for sure that the authors of such videos aim for deliberate clickbait or just have shallow knowledge of game mechanics and copy-paste these ideas from each other. But now you know that 4 adjacent supercharged slot starships are basically just one-trick ponies, with cool high numbers in one category not good for anything. Based on my experience and extensive testing, in most cases a 3+1 supercharged slot setup would be the best choice for balanced stat distribution between damage and maneuverability, although in some cases a 2+2 setup would provide the best results, like in the case of fighters, which thanks to class damage bonus with just 2 supercharged adjacent slots will have a sufficient amount of damage, while allocating 2 supercharged slots for maneuverability will allow approaching that optimum 2000 maneuverability score for the most efficient investment responsiveness results. So next time you see a video claiming to showcase the most powerful starship with insanely high damage or maneuverability, you will know that these exaggerated numbers come at a cost, making them less effective than they might appear. Now there is a huge exception to all the upgrades and slot expansions we've just overviewed in this game, which are living starships. As we already know, acquiring one of these organics can be a challenge. But what if I told you that upgrading them is even more difficult? They require specific organic technology and inventory expansion modules which are not easily obtained. There are several methods to gather these, but the most reliable is passive farming through freighter daily expeditions with organic frigates, which occasionally deliver these crucial organic upgrades when you send them on expeditions. The good news is that you can upgrade organic technology, so you don't need to focus on getting the desired S-class upgrades. Any class can be evolved to S-class using nanites. But the bad news is that available tech for living starships is severely limited to just basic weaponry like organic analogs of the photon cannon and phase beam, plus basic tech upgrades without additional features available for regular starships. Even the crucial teleport receiver was only added in the recent Relics update. The only exception to this rule is the purple drive and decorative figurines and rails which you can install on this type of starship. To perform these upgrades for living starships, you require Psionic Eggs, which provide organic starship tech upgrades, and spawning sacks, which expand the inventory slots of living starships. Spawning sacks are incredibly rare. Many veteran players report an average of 1 spawning sack per 10-15 psionic eggs from freighter expeditions. I can confirm this incredibly low drop rate. Fully upgrading an organic starship without exploits is nearly impossible due to this absurdly low drop rate. Upgrading organic vessel is one of the most challenging and time-consuming processes in No Man's Sky. Many players find it frustrating due to the heavy reliance on random chance, and as a result, some turn to duplication glitches to speed things up. Despite this being a long-standing aspect of the game, the developers have not made any significant changes to improve the system. What does this mean practically? Living starships are the least upgradable in the game, with basic weaponry and the weakest stats overall despite being S-class by default. No powerful infra-knife weapon, no reasonable amount of maneuverability even if you get one with the best supercharged slot layout. The only unique trait they have is their original glowing design, just for show. Sad but true. You can hire pilots at regular space stations to join your squadron, and they will assist you in every space battle once recruited. What's important to know, the class of the starship doesn't matter, only the class of the pilot does. The good news is that you can upgrade a pilot's class with nanites. The biggest issue with the squadron and with NPC starships in the game in general is that all starships are pretty weak, since they don't have any impactful upgrades or weaponry. Therefore, having your own squadron is more like psychological support rather than a real combat feature. Just focus on recruiting the starships you prefer visually and combine them as you want. Although with the recent beacon update, your squadron can now scramble to defend your settlement against hostile pirate raids. Also, you can now meet members of your squadron hanging around the settlement in their free time, having fun in a bar just before another tough fight in the skies. By the way, you can also recruit exotic, sentinel and even living ships to your squadron. Simply exchange a starship you want to transfer from your collection to the squadron with a random pilot at a space station, and immediately recruit the pilot with your X-ship to your squadron. Just make sure you have free slots in your squadron before exchanging a starship with an NPC pilot. Class and installed upgrades don't matter since they will be reset anyway, so feel free to exchange a random C-class Sentinel Interceptor and later upgrade the pilot to S-class if necessary. This way, you can also exchange starships with friends or our players. Make sure you both have multiplayer enabled and meet at a space station by using a portal and glyphs. Exchange the starship you want to give to your friend with a random NPC starship. Your friend should stay close to the starship you exchange with the NPC, and then you complete the exchange, they will have the option to buy it back from the NPC. Just remember that the class of the starship and all installed upgrades will be reset, excluding the class of exotic and living starships, which is always S. Also keep in mind that you can't recruit assembled starships and exclusive ships awarded in expeditions to the squadron. Additionally, you can't recruit more than 3 starships of the same design to the squadron, so combine them wisely. One of the coolest game mechanics is custom starship assembly, available at regular space stations at the Starship Fabricator. This handy feature allows you to create a custom starship from different salvaged parts. Currently, there are 4 types of starships you can assemble: fighters, haulers, explorers, and solar starships. Each type requires a reactor core and a set of different parts to assemble: fighter, fuselage, reactor core, wings, thruster; hauler, cockpit, reactor core, wings, thruster. Explorer, left wing, reactor core, hull, right wing. Solar, fuselage, reactor core, wings, sail. While reactor cores of different classes from C to S are available at space stations for nanites, salvaged parts can be extracted from starships at the Starship Outfitting Terminal by choosing the option to begin salvage analysis and extract customization module, where you can salvage one of 3 parts of a starship. Remember that starship parts are unique to each type and can be mixed and matched only within the same class. By using this feature, you can create a starship of your favorite design directly in S-Class if you use an S-Class reactor core. Different types have different amount of custom parts, with the most available for fighters. While there are many options to get salvaged parts for custom starships, the fastest and most reliable way is to purchase them in C-Class from NPC pilots, either at space stations or trade outposts, to extract the necessary parts. During the assembly process, you can also choose a color pattern and a type of color, with some being unlocked only by completing specific expeditions. There is no way of getting those unique colors until the developers decide to rerun a particular expedition, so new players will unfortunately have fewer options. Changing starship stats during the assembly process is for show only and has no practical value. You can't create a starship with personalized stats, for instance a hauler with high damage potential. When you finish the assembly process, those stats will be changed in the assembled starship according to the Starship Types default values. But can you choose the best supercharged slot position for your custom starship, and how? Different space stations provide different initial assembly seats and therefore different supercharged slot positions for your custom starship. So, as always, to save parts and money before the process, create a restore point, assemble a starship with an S-Class reactor core, go to the Starship Outfitting Terminal, unlock necessary numbers of tech slots to check the supercharged slot positions, and if not satisfied, reload the restore point, change the space station, and repeat the process until you find a supercharged slot position of your choice. Now here is a pro tip. Assembled starship core stats and supercharged slot layouts depend not only on the specific space station providing a seat for your starship assembled from specific parts, but also on the parts you combine to construct the starship. That means replacing even a single part will change the outcome, including the core stats and supercharged slot layout. Absolutely mind-blowing, right? Well, No Man's Sky is full of hidden mechanics like this one. Now, this is where real magic begins. By using fighter radiant parts and the default color scheme, you can assemble an exact copy of a beginner starship with the same design. So if you are a veteran player who scrapped a starter ship a while ago, this is your way to bring it back. The only difference if you choose the same color design will be in some symbols and numbers on the fuselage. Starter starship Radiant Pillar BC1 will always have number 55 on the fuselage, while an assembled starship will always have 99. This is how you can identify players owning original starter ships at the Space Anomaly, a small but interesting detail. Also, if you have salvaged parts of the unique Iron Vulture starship rewarded at the completion of Expedition 13 Adrift, you can mix and match those parts with our regular hauler parts to create a super unique designs. This option unfortunately is not available for new players. All in all, it's a great feature that allows you to customize your fleet in many different ways. But keep in mind that assembled starships have some important limitations. You can't exchange them via NPC pilots and therefore can't recruit them to your squadron or exchange them with friends or other players. Other than that, this is a good feature to play with. Let's hope that in future updates the devs will add the opportunity to assemble custom shuttles, sentinels, exotic and organic starships. It would be super nice for even greater diversity in this game. Only the highest tier hyperdrive installed on your starship is needed to travel to lower tier star systems. For example, installing a purple hyperdrive grants access to all star systems, while having all types of hyperdrives installed provides adjacency bonuses for increased range. This trick can save valuable tech slots for more essential upgrades until you unlock all necessary slots. Maximize your Starship capabilities by diverting power to engines, shields or weapons depending on your current combat situation. Supercharge your engines to close in on enemies at top speed, then obliterate them with max-powered weapons. You can divert power by pressing slash on PC, which provides a 15% boost to the selected system. By default, power is set to balanced mode, equally distributing energy among all Starship functions. And now, the most important tip regarding Starship acquisition in this game. Using portal coordinates to acquire starships fast and effortlessly shared by our players might only be beneficial for those who don't have much time to play due to real-life responsibilities like work, family or other hobbies. It allows them to stay competitive with players who can afford to spend more time in the game. However, for the majority of players, it can be a fun killer, leading to a loss of interest in the game very quickly. So use this feature wisely to avoid ruining your own enjoyment. You might ask, what's wrong with that? If portals help me get my dream S-Class Starship quickly and efficiently, isn't that a good thing? Well, this is where many players fall into the trap of psychological phenomenon known as effort justification. People tend to undervalue things that are obtained easily or for free, because we subconsciously associate value with effort, cost or difficulty. When something requires work, payment or sacrifice, the brain perceives it as more meaningful and rewarding. That's exactly why most video games are built around grinding, rare discoveries and gradual gear progression. Players are wired to value that they are invested time and effort into. That's why I get tons of comments from players who ruin their own fun by abusing shared portal coordinates to grab lucrative starships fast or by exploiting glitches for easy rewards. They often regret it later, because when something takes no effort to get, it holds no real value. Even if you fool others by pretending you found something rare, you can't fool yourself, so use these shortcuts with caution. Now it's time to rank all Starship types based on everything we've covered in this video. You might be surprised, some of the best starships aren't what you expect. I will rate each starship class across 5 categories. The number of stars shows how important each category is from my experience. Ease of acquisition, max 3 stars. Cool factor, style, max 3 stars. Core stats, max 3 stars. Upgradability, max 3 stars. And fabricating options, max 1 star. Important notes: I won't count fast acquisition by player shared coordinates, only solo finds. Cargo slots won't be rated since you can own up to 30 starships now, so cargo is less relevant. Cockpit view and first person flying won't be rated either, because many prefer third person, and this is very subjective. VR players might disagree, but this is my perspective. Expedition ships will be grouped together since they all share a major downside. They can only be acquired when the expedition is active. This tier list reflects my criteria, combining my experience with that of new players. Your personal list might differ, especially if you value unique design above all else. Some starships I rank low might be your favorites, and that's totally okay. Everyone plays their way. With that in mind, let's dive into the top tier. C tier goes to the living starships and the Wraith, which got the lowest score. Why rank such unique and cool starships so low? First, they are hard and expensive to get. The first living starship quest can take almost a week in real time, unless you manipulate the system clock. That's a major grind. For new players, 3200 Quicksilver is a lot, enough to buy our cool cosmetics instead. The raid is even harder to get. It's only awarded for completing a specific expedition. If you missed it, all you can do is wait, and no one knows how long that will be. But the biggest problem, living ships have terrible maneuverability and very limited upgrades, only basic organic ones. No powerful infra knife, no maxing out maneuverability to 2000. Also, fully upgrading all slots is nearly impossible possible without duplication exploits. Spawning sacks required for upgrades are extremely rare. To put it in perspective, even with daily freighter expeditions, you won't fully upgrade a living ship in half a year. It's a big problem, especially since I personally love their design. The Raid looks absolutely stunning. These unique starships deserve love from the devs and should be fully upgradable like regular vessels. My final verdict: living ships in No Man's Sky look alive, but perform like a corpse. B tier goes to Shuttles. Shuttles are easy to get in S-Class and they are fully upgradable. However, their core stats are mediocre, and unlike our classes, they have no class bonus core stats. You also can't build a custom shuttle. Besides, most players find them visually unattractive, and they definitely deserve more love from the devs. Nothing more to add here. A tier includes several Starship types: Explorers, Howlers, Exotic Squid, and most expedition awarded starships. Explorers have high maneuverability and hyperdrive range thanks to their class bonus, with low launch cost and average shields. However, they have the lowest core damage in the game, so don't expect them to dominate in dogfights. Their unique design and fabrication options make them great for exploration, which is exactly what they are made for, not combat. Howlers boast the highest core shields in the game due to their class bonus. I find this less useful since shields can be restored with sodium or by leeching from enemies in combat. Their bigger drawback is poor maneuverability and fairly low core damage, making upgrades tricky. If you like Howlers, I recommend a 2+2 adjacent supercharged slot setup, 2 for weapons and 2 to boost maneuverability, reaching around 1500 maneuverability to keep controls responsive. They also have nice fabrication options and cool shiny wing rotors with white lights. You can mix and match Howler parts with Iron Vulture parts to create unique custom designs that really feels yours. Exotic Squid have very high, well-balanced core stats across the board. Performance-wise, they are basically S tier, but many players don't like their design, which is a personal preference. The main problem is how rare and hard they are to find solo. Plus, it's tough to get good supercharged slot positions. You mostly have to accept what you get. That was the main reason I placed them in A tier instead of S. Most expedition awarded starships, except the Raid, have balanced core stats similar to exotics, are fully upgradable, and some have unique tech like the Photonics core on the Starboard Runner from Expedition 12. However, they don't offer fabrication options except Iron Vulture, which can be cloned and salvaged for custom assembly in your chosen colors. Their biggest downside: these unique starships are locked behind limited time expeditions, making them very hard to get for new players. I placed them in A tier because of their exclusive S tier designs, but I get that many new players would rank them lower, since if you miss the event, you just can't get them unless the devs repeat it. By the way, I would rate the original Iron Vulture as A+, for its unique salvageable parts. If I remember correctly, it also has unusually high core damage for a Howler, around 300 or more. I salvaged my original one, so I can't say for sure. Let me know in the comments what the core damage potential of the original Iron Vulture is. Keep in mind, if you assemble a custom Iron Vulture from salvaged parts, it will be built from a standard Howler seat with typical stats, more like a tier B shuttle. Tier A+ goes to Ball Exotics, including Royal and Fighters. Ball Exotics, like Exotic Squids, have incredibly high and balanced core stats, with no weak points. The only reason I didn't put them in the higher S tier is because hunting them down solo can be time consuming, especially if you want ideal supercharged slot positions and your preferred color scheme. Beyond that, they are absolutely top tier starships worthy of any collection. Fighters scored just as high as the top tier starships, but are placed in A+ due to having the lowest hyperdrive range in the game, potential drawback for beginners. Aside from that, fighters are amazing, with high damage and decent maneuverability. To hit that perfect 2000 maneuverability, you will likely want a 2+2 supercharged slot setup. 2 slots for the main gun, which benefits from fighters' damage bonus, and 2 to boost maneuverability. Fighters also offer the most diverse fabricating options of any starship. Currently, you can choose from 53 different wing types. Even the pickiest player can find a design they love, making fighters truly incredible. And now for the winners. The S-tier stars of my list, and I bet at least one will surprise you. First, solar starships. Their performance is close to fighters, but with much better balanced core stats. Their unique Vesper sail tech boosts maneuverability, fuel efficiency, and automatically recharge launch thrusters. A real game changer, especially early in the game. Plus, the exclusive sail deploy animation is a visual treat, especially if you fabricate one with your choice of hull and sail colors. Solar starships are truly unique gems and solid winners here. This is exactly why I recommend new players aim to get one as fast as possible. Second, Sentinel Interceptors. These starships have well-balanced core stats, all above average, with incredibly diverse and stunning designs. They range from small, single-thruster scouts to heavy, multi-thruster bomber-like giants with unique robotic landing gear animations. They have low launch costs and unique hoverability unmatched by any other starship, making hunting for them fun and rewarding. There are so many design variations that even after so many hours in the game, I still find new unique models. The best supercharged slot setup for interceptors is 3+1, 3 adjacent slots for the main gun and 1 for maneuverability, hitting that sweet 2000 maneuverability target. The only downside is that they currently have no fabricating options, so you can't build a custom interceptor. If fabricating were added, they would be instant godlike tier starships. And now for the third and final winner of my top starships. Any guesses? Yes, this might surprise you. And the Oscar goes to a starship familiar to everyone who's ever tried this game even once. Your beginner starship, the trusty old Radiant Pillar BC-1. Woohoo! Congrats to the humble little legend! If you are amazed or wondering why a veteran player like me would give the top prize to this cozy beginner starship, think of it like your first car. It rattled at 30 miles per hour but had soul. That's exactly what this ship has. Not only does it carry the soul and best memories of your very first steps into the incredible universe of No Man's Sky, making every veteran nostalgic whenever they spot one at the space anomaly, but it can also be turned into an absolute beast when fully upgraded. Its original seat, shared by all players, comes with a 3+1 supercharged slot layout, 3 adjacent slots perfect for weapons, plus 1 for maneuverability, letting you deliver massive damage in dogfights, a true maverick of No Man's Sky. And here is the kicker: you don't have to spend time or units hunting it down. It's handed to you for free by the devs. That's why it's #1 in my top and will serve you well until you find your dream starship of choice. So here is some advice for new players. Don't salvage your starter starship early on just for some quick cash. Save it for the memories. You would be surprised how many veterans, including myself, salvaged their Radiant Pillar before the Worlds Part 2 update, back when starship slots were limited to just 12, and later regretted it. Now with 30 slots available, it's the perfect time to hold on to your starter ship and keep those sweet memories of your first steps in this amazing game. And for those who already salvaged theirs, no worries, I showed earlier in this video how to get back almost identical with just a few tweaks. And that wraps up my full starship tier list, based on both performance and experience. Whether you are flying a Squid, a Sentinel, or still cruising around in your Radiant Pillar, just remember, the best starship is always the one that feels like yours. Now I want to hear from you. What's your personal top tier starship and why? Drop in the comments, I'm really curious to see how your list compares to mine. So I hope you enjoyed this super detailed Ultimate Starships guide and that it answered all your questions about starships in No Man's Sky. I won't lie, making this guide was tough and super time consuming, with so many tiny details to cover. so a like and subscribe would be hugely appreciated. And to finish with a bang, I've got a special bonus for you. Have you ever seen dancing starships in No Man's Sky? Yep, you heard that right, dancing starships. Check it out now, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching and enjoy the show. Oodalooper out.